look good?
The look is perfect, and we are live. Incredible.
Amazing.
Welcome, Professor Dr. Tamás Dávid-Barrett. I'm so honored to have you. And the incredible thing, it's like, I want to present you as a professor from Oxford and all the incredible thing you are. But the best part is that you are on a sailing boat. And I think this is the most impressive thing. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for taking us on a ride with you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm so glad.
Yeah. I'm so happy too. Which part of the Mediterranean are you on?
We are just at the tip of Rhodes.
Oh.
Rhodos. So this is Rhodes there, and over there is Turkey.
It's Turkey.
So
okay.
Yeah, so Turkey. Yeah, so we are in between Greece, Rhodes, and Turkey.
Incredible. And that's incredible. But your mind always functions, and the connections in the digital world makes it so that we can be anywhere connected. That's great.
You know, today we saw some turtles and dolphins.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's so beautiful. Dolphin jumping on the water, you can see them.
Yeah.
What about turtles? How do you recognize them?
They are dolphins next to the boat.
No, the turtles. Do they swim? Do they swim up?
Yeah. So there was we were in a bay, and suddenly there was a very large turtle. Like, this was not a tiny bit turtle. This was a large turtle, and then swam up to us, and then swam down.
So nice. Did you get to actually film all of this, like this journey?
Some people in the crew took pictures of the turtle and the dolphins.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, welcome. And let's take it seriously about your incredible work, because I am so amazed and really honored to spend this few minutes with you and share it with my community. I know, to pick your brain about the incredible work that you're doing as economic behavior, human behavior, AI, economists, and you name it. You just cover every single spectrum of what we need to know today, isn't it?
Yeah, especially the kind. No, I don't understand quantum theory, and my chemistry is not very good. So there are a lot that I don't know.
So congratulations for the new book. I would love for you to talk a bit about what you do, who you are, and what was the journey that made you write this incredible book that is fascinating, Gender Species.
I'm coming to the front, look, so that I can speak to you here.
Okay, I like that.
I was interested in inequality. So the interest was at first not gender inequality, but inequality in general. And I realized that gender-based inequality is different from all other kinds of inequalities. So if you have, in its nature, in its behavior. So if you have a ethnicity-based inequality, then it's possible to have the social networks tend to segregate. Or if you have class-based inequality or caste-based inequality, then the classes and the castes segregate. So people can live their lives happy, but in an unequal setup, in which they're surrounded by a community, a highly integrated, dense, loving community. It's possible. But gender-based inequality is different. Because gender-based inequality is in a species, and we are a primate species, in a species that's dominantly but not entirely heterosexual, and dominantly but not entirely pair-bonded. In this species, there will be a lot of heterosexual couples, often of course having children, and hence the oppression and the manifestation of inequality is in the everyday life. So, and as a consequence, we end up in a this kind of inequality behaves very differently from all the other kinds. inequalities. And so that was sort of the first observation. And then the second observation was that every culture, without an exception, has behavioral rules for women that are different from behavioral rules for men.
For men. And that's from our creation, right? This is from the very beginning of the creation, how we are.
This is how we are. But these norms vary across cultures. So the norms here in Greece will be somewhat different than the norms out there in Turkey.
In Turkey, that is so true. But that's because of the culture. Because of what? What makes the difference in those norms?
So what happens is that a scientist observation is there's a phenomenon that is there in every culture, but varies across cultures. Plus, it varies in time because it changes in time. Yeah. So the norms here today in Rhodes are different from our norms 100 years ago, but also in Turkey, the norms today are different than 100 years ago. So the phenomenon, a scientific phenomenon, is that, listen, there are some variables, there are some norms, and these vary in space and time. So there's a phenomenon that varies in space and time. And then you can ask, why?
Why?
And my book is, so I thought about it for a while. And 1,377 citations later. Oh, lovely.
Yes, of course. It's a beautiful book. And I'm still reading through it because it's so dense. I feel like I'm taking an Oxford course every time I open it. It's so dense. It's true.
It's so lovely. Thank you so much.
Let me show for everybody because they don't know what they said about it. The most important science book on gender in the 21st century, they say about the work.
That's very kind.
So the first point is that everybody is happy despite the culture. They know the disparities. The second point is that they change norms. The differences change. What are the?
Sorry.
What are the other points?
So I mean, we can understand where these norms come from, and so we understand how patriarchal systems emerge. Our species probably is a gender equal species, but super flexible. So the way, our closest relatives, chimpanzees and bonobos, chimpanzees are patriarchal, all of them. Bonobos are matriarchal, all of them. And we are somehow in between. So I think, and there's a lot of data that supports this, that when there is no other pressure on our societies, then we tend to form gender equal, gender harmonious societies, and then with the rise of farming, suddenly there was a change in our economies, and this change created a bunch of new kind of norms around the same logic, basically. This is a farming logic. And so all of these farming societies became patriarchal, what we call today patriarchal. And but the fun thing about it is that this is all because of climate stability. So the climate around 12 to 10,000 years ago got warm. So that was the end of the last ice age.
That's
but
right.
also became stable. And that stability then changed the way we use our ecosystem. So normally we are hunter-gatherers, yeah? Like every other animal, by the way. Animals are hunter-gatherers, are foragers.
So men were hunters, yes.
And we were hunter-gatherers, and then suddenly there was stability of the climate, and so it made sense to invest into the ecosystem. And that investment led to the rise of farming, because farming is really a technology that invests in the ecosystem. You sow some seeds, and then a year later, or half a year later, you're going to harvest. You got to
stay there. You got to be stable and stay there to be able to harvest. Yes.
Yes, you have to, and you have to protect it, defend it.
So your focus is different now. Your focus is like, how do you protect where you are?
Yes, and that changed the way physical power exists in our societies. The role of physical power, and there are two sexes, and one of the sexes is somewhat taller, somewhat faster, somewhat stronger, and doesn't get pregnant. So there was a specialization, just like in hunter-gatherer societies. There are specialization for tasks.
From our own biology, biologically, we are grouped differently. Okay.
Yes, and the same specialization then happened for protecting the land and the animals in farming, and that changed the logic of our societies, and that's how patriarchal systems emerged. 11 different times. So the same logic, at the same time, led to farming appear 11 different times, 11 different locations on the planet, within a few thousand years. And the same logic then led to the rise, that farming logic then led to the rise of these patriarchal systems. And now they're all going away for the other end of this, because we are shifting our societies from farming societies. And
that's right. But the dynamic remains. Do you think it's going to change, or is it going to always stay? And we always will be talking about gender differentiation and discrimination.
It is changing, just very, very slowly. So one way to see this change is if you think about what happened the past 120 years, 12 decades.
Okay. 12 decades.
And on a species level. So
like
if you say, okay, so 1900. So if they say, so what was the situation of women and female power and female empowerment in the 1910s compared to the 1900s, that decade, and that on a level of a species. And you can see, well, actually quite a lot of step forward, a step towards the end of patriarchy. But how about 1920s to the 1910s? Again, there's about, so you can go forward decade by decade and ask on a species level rather than any individual culture. And every decade is moving away from patriarchy towards something new. But so slow that the whole process takes multiple life lengths, and hence there is a pressure that the underlying logic has already changed, but our cultures are changing super slow. So there's this constant frustration of these between the underlying logic, which should be already at the end of patriarchal systems, and the slow change. And so we are in this process, very slow process, but it's a straightforward process.
This is fascinating. So what do you think would help us speed up the process so that we see more equalities, more respect, almost like whatever can a man do, a woman can do as well in business? I'm talking business, entrepreneurship, leadership. What do you think?
I think there are two components. Two components.
Yes, two components.
Yeah, I mean, so I wrote this book with the hope that so one component is understanding the process of why this is happening, and I wrote the whole book to share this understanding. So this is not random. To understand
I think your book it gives hope as well. It's like we are getting to something better. It's just that it's slow.
Yes. And so when we understand the underlying logic, we can understand what's going on, and then we can ask exactly the question that you asked. The question is, how can we speed up this process? But we can only ask this question if we know that there is a process. And the process that sort of makes sense, yeah?
That is so true, yes. But I know there is a process, and I'm convinced because I read your book, and I like your description of it. And you know, this leadership series is mostly for women, and you are the only one I have invited because it's thanks to your thinking that we can be reassured. So yes, there is a process.
Yes.
But we want it faster. We really do.
And in this process, the next question is that once we know that there's a process, how to tackle it. And tackling it is thinking about it. So, for instance, I'll give you an example that I've been thinking of quite a lot. It's why is it that so few startups get funded if they're female funders? And this is a phenomenon that is true in super equal societies. So in Scandinavia, as well. So in Scandinavia, a lot of startups, female-funded startups, don't get funded. Although the patriarchal norms are mostly gone, not entirely mostly. I wonder why on earth is this? And I realized that there is a cultural practice. So if you're making business with Finns, for instance, it happened with me. We have meetings all day in the meeting room, and Finns don't speak a lot. Yeah? They're not a very a culture that speaks a lot. Then so you make a meeting, and at one point they will ask you with heavy Finnish accent, sauna, and then we go to the sauna. And then we get
sauna. The sauna. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
So then we go to the sauna. So the way they express it, sauna. So then we go to the sauna, and then we have some beer, and we are all naked. And this is a culture where
men. It's all men.
It's all men. It's all men. And then after the third round, we make a business, make a deal. So because it's gender, so it is. Although this is a culture which is not very patriarchal, in the closest to gender harmonious societies, because of this practice. So it is not that they don't want to fund female founders, is that the way business is done is in an old way. And the only way to change this is that we notice it. And then, so, I told some of my Finnish friends about it, and they started to change the practice of making business. So that's what it means that the culture changes, because it's not enough to want the change. What you also need to know is notice that there is a need for the change. Yeah.
Notice that there is, but we all know as women, but notice for men that there is a need for change.
Yes, but also for women, that it is not necessarily that men don't want the change. It's just the underlying cultural practices, like in the case of this sauna example, need to change. So none of those men wanted to exclude the women. Yeah. The practice ended up. So all you need to do, or we all need to do, is to pay attention to the mechanism of change. I'll give another example. For a few years, I was looking after some of the admission process of Trinity College, where I teach in
Oxford.
Yeah, and then I realized that there was this very weird phenomenon that the female students, so this is like they're coming at 17, 18, that's when the admission process is, and then it's a 3-year course, and female students tend to have better scores than the male students in the finals.
Oh yes,
but
that is
more. I was running my bit of admissions, and I realized that the female students were regularly weaker in the interview and advanced interview. But then, because I told them later, I saw them that they were better. So they tend to be the weaker half of those we admitted, and then but they tend to be a better half in the final exams. So the reason was that the female students were much less risk-taking in the interview process.
But why is that? Because they have a preconceived idea that maybe because they're women or they're girls, they will not be priority. Could that be?
Could be either. So it's probably have a cultural component and have an inherited component. So
inherited component, yes.
Yeah. So for instance, I mean, you know that insurance companies do not like to insure young drivers. And actually, in countries where they can say so that there's no law against gender discrimination, they do not want to insure young male drivers, because that's a period of life when a lot of boys and young men are super high risk taking. and that there is a inherited component. So this is an evolved behavior. So that's an inherited component in risk-taking. Plus, on top, cultures tend to reward men more for risk-taking than women. So that these two components together end up less risk-taking during an admissions interview at Oxford. And unless you know this, and unless you engage with the fact that, all right, these are the two mechanisms, the cultural and the genetic, and that will end up with a phenomenon that in this discussion, because it's an Oxford entrance exam is a discussion, it's a chat, in which you as a future tutor of these students want to know how teachable the students are. In this discussion, yes, it's basically teachability is because everybody who gets an oral exam.
But we get so nervous about it that when the emotions are too high, they don't think. And isn't it because of emotions? Could it be that as women, we tend to be overwhelmed by emotions more than men could be?
I don't know enough. I mean, so this is definitely something that many people talk about.
Yes, exactly.
I do not know what component of this is scientifically grounded.
It's scientific, yes.
The risk-taking could be it's an emotion. It's testosterone driven. So a higher amount of testosterone, more risk-taking. You can do it in the lab with mice as well.
That's right. So, that's how scientifically you will link it. Yeah.
Yes, but what you're suggesting is that the emotional complexity that women. So many people
don't talk much about that, but in your system and in the process, what is hard that it's taken us so long is the fact that you need to reprogram that heritage and that paradigm. And when we talk paradigm, it's notions that we have absorbed through the years and we have been born with.
Yes. I mean, this is a
subconscious mind.
Yes, and I think working on ourselves by asking these questions and engaging with the mechanisms and asking these questions is step one, and step two is engaging with these indirect cultural practices rather than. I think a lot of times I hear, especially women working on gender equality, the assumption is that men are sort of almost the enemy, and I don't think this is true. Maybe some men are, but it's not generally true. Is that the underlying cultural practices need to change, and that's when the change will come. So
I love that. This is something to really highlight. It's like the change will come when we are in peace with the relationship, with the position of men, that they are for the progress. It's just that the progress takes the time that it needs to take. I love that. Beautiful conclusion to this beautiful conversation, because that gives more hope, right? It gives more hope, and it's almost a call to project more peace and love to everyone.
Yes, and I think all of it is by thinking harder about it. Like I think I mentioned to you that I just started a new company, and that's sort of we expand this approach of understanding of what's going on to all domains. So going away not only from one societal process, but to all societal processes and physical processes and the climate processes and ecological processes. So what you said is exactly why we're doing it. So knowledge can give hope.
Yes.
By empowering people for decision making.
Absolutely. And this is brilliant. And when we use knowledge and we present it in a way that is, scientifically acceptable, the logical mind gets it. And you also touch some of the emotional, because you want to speak to subconscious minds.
Yes.
Where you get to do that by repeating and giving all the incredible data and examples that you put together over 10 years or so or more? I'm not gonna.
It was a very long process.
Yeah.
It was a bit more than that.
And I'm so happy you did this for us, all women, and just to give us the hope that I work with women because that's what I do. It's BAL method is to give more hope to women, to get the processes that makes them believe in themselves more, believe in the possibilities, and take action with a set of mind that is really encouraging and like towards winning, so that they become the great leaders. But your work comes to almost reassure me that I'm not just talking about women because we don't like men or because we are against men. No, it's a whole journey altogether, and it's incredible.
I fully agree.
Thank you so much. So they always ask this question to everyone in the leadership series program. How do you define leadership? How do you see it? What is leadership for you? What does it mean?
That's very interesting because I'm a CEO of this new company, but also a captain of this boat.
Yes, you are. Yeah. And a father of two incredible children, and
yeah,
a
father
professor and a tutor, and just everything. So you're a leader in every facet. What does it mean to you?
And I think we just had this conversation actually last night about how different a company is from a boat. So it is the same leadership approach, but in a different environment. And I think that's what this is. It is paying attention to people, being the first in line, going first at tackling first the problem, showing rather than telling, and then engaging with people's capabilities and desires, and showing that we are going in the same way, being in the same boat, if you like.
In the same boat. That's really that is absolutely the space to say it, being in the same boat, and that's what companies are. It's like you got to show them. And there is one word you started with in our conversation, which is protecting your space. Is that something that you had in these incredible descriptions of yours? Because you give that safety, that feeling we're okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. That is also part of how all real leaders are, that they create a space of safety. Yeah.
Yes.
I fully agree with you.
Yes, and you're doing it so well. And I felt like you're gonna drop out of the boat, and it sounds like, no, you're a leader. You give that space each time. So I had to trust. We're okay. Tamas is not dropping off the boat. We're all okay. Thank you so much. This has been the funnest and most amazing episode, and I am so grateful for this beautiful connection.
Thank you so very much for inviting me.
This was so lovely. Thank you for making it from your boat and for sharing so much importance. I think this conversation is so powerful. It's about giving hope that we are in a progress. Things are getting better. Stop fighting for old beliefs. They don't exist anymore. Let's just create an incredible world where we all get together and all grab our opportunities the same way, men and women. One last sentence before I let you jump. You got a lot of
if somebody is
fascination, Tamas. Look at this. Excellent conversation. So inspiring. It's a lot of things. So that's great. Thank you, ladies.
And thank you very much. And if somebody happens to be at the Volcano Summit in Guatemala, please come to my keynote on Sunday. So Guatemala and Antigua this Sunday, if you happen to, and search, look out for me, and we can continue the conversation.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for a refreshing ride in the Mediterranean.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.